Welcome back to Tarik Talk. Let's get into today's episode. Fridge Art Fair returns to New York City from May 13th through May 17th, 2026, bringing its signature mix of experimental art, independent spirit, performance, activism, and downtown energy back into the middle of one of the busiest weeks in the international art world. Now, compared to some of the massive commercial fairs happening simultaneously across New York during Freeze Week, Fridge Art Fair exists in an entirely different universe. And honestly, that's exactly the point. Fridge has always embraced being alternative, playful, artist-centered, and intentionally unconventional. The fair was founded by artist and curator Eric Ginsberg together with artist and producer Maria Van Kampen, and from the beginning, Fridge positioned itself almost as a reaction against the exclusivity and corporate atmosphere that can sometimes dominate larger art fairs. FridgeArtFair.com. Even the name itself, Fridge, carries humor and attitude. It feels casual, unexpected, a little rebellious, and that tone reflects the identity of the fair overall. Fridge Art Fair is known for supporting independent artists, emerging galleries, experimental projects, performance works, social practice, and artists who may not always fit comfortably within traditional commercial art fair structures. And over the years, the fair has developed a loyal following specifically because of that openness. For the 2026 edition, Fridge Art Fair features approximately 40 to 50 participating artists, collectives, galleries, and artist-run projects spread across multiple activations and installations throughout New York City. FridgeArtFair.com. Unlike traditional booth-driven fairs, Fridge often feels more fluid and collaborative. The fair blends exhibitions, pop-ups, performances, installations, screenings, talks, music events, and immersive projects together into one larger experience. And honestly, that flexibility is one of the reasons people love it. You never fully know what you're going to encounter. A performance might suddenly begin in the middle of the room. An artist may transform the space during the fair itself. A conversation becomes part of the artwork. Music spills into the environment. Fashion, poetry, activism, and installation all collide together. The fair embraces unpredictability. And during a week where many fairs can sometimes feel highly polished and commercially controlled, Fridge offers something raw and more spontaneous. Another major aspect of Fridge Art Fair 2026 is its strong emphasis on inclusivity and accessibility. The fair continues prioritizing participation from women artists, queer artists, artists of color, disabled artists, immigrant artists, and multidisciplinary creators working outside mainstream commercial systems. FridgeArtFair.com. That mission has been central to the fair's identity for years. Fridge openly positions itself as a platform for voices that are often underrepresented within larger institutional and market-driven spaces. And that commitment creates a very different atmosphere inside the fair. People engage directly with artists. Conversations feel personal. There's less hierarchy, less intimidation. The energy feels more connected to grassroots creative culture than luxury branding. Another exciting development this year is the expansion of Fridge's performance programming and interdisciplinary collaborations. The 2026 edition includes live performances, spoken word events, sound installations, experimental film screenings, and collaborative activations involving artists, musicians, dancers, and fashion designers. CulturedMag.com. And honestly, that interdisciplinary spirit feels very aligned with where contemporary culture is heading right now. The boundaries between art forms continue dissolving. Artists move fluidly between mediums. Performance intersects with sculpture. Fashion becomes installation. Music becomes part of exhibition making. Fridge embraces all of that fluidity. Another thing that separates Fridge from many other fairs is its strong connection to activism and social engagement. Many projects presented at the fair directly address issues including identity, migration, politics, mental health, climate change, gender equity, housing, and urban transformation. Artforum.com. But importantly, the fair approaches those conversations through creativity, humor, experimentation, and community building rather than institutional distance. That immediacy makes the experience feel incredibly alive. Another major highlight this year is the fair's continued partnership with independent nonprofits, local artist organizations, and alternative creative spaces throughout New York City. FridgeArtFair.com. Several collaborative pop-ups and satellite projects are happening across Manhattan and Brooklyn during the week, extending the fair beyond a single physical venue. That decentralized structure feels important because Fridge has always embraced the idea of the city itself becoming part of the exhibition. And during Freeze Week, New York transforms completely. Collectors move between fairs all day. Gallery openings happen nonstop. Artists organize dinners, performances, and rooftop parties. Museums launch major exhibitions. Fashion brands host activations. Curators schedule studio visits across multiple boroughs. The city becomes saturated with art, and within that larger ecosystem, Fridge occupies a unique position. It feels scrappier, more experimental, more democratic, and honestly, that energy is deeply connected to New York's artistic history itself. For decades, New York's most important artistic movements often emerged outside established systems. Artists transformed warehouses into galleries, performances happened in alternative spaces, downtown culture developed through improvisation and collaboration rather than institutional approval. Fridge continues carrying that spirit forward. Another exciting aspect of the 2026 edition is the fair's growing use of immersive and interactive installations. Several participating artists are presenting projects that invite direct audience participation, blurring the line between viewer and artwork. Artreview.com. Visitors may walk through installations, contribute to evolving works, engage with performers, or become part of the artwork itself. That participatory energy creates a very different relationship between audience and exhibition. The experience becomes collective rather than passive. And honestly, that openness makes the fair feel incredibly accessible, especially for younger audiences or people who may feel intimidated by more traditional art spaces. Another major talking point surrounding Fridge Art Fair 2026 is the continued integration of technology and digital experimentation. Several artists this year are presenting AI-influenced works, immersive media environments, projection-based installations, and interactive digital projects, Observer.com. But unlike highly corporate tech-focused events, the technology here often feels handmade, playful, critical, or intentionally imperfect. That balance keeps the work feeling connected to artists rather than product design. Another thing people consistently mention about Fridge is the atmosphere itself. There's humor. There's music, there's conversation, there's spontaneity. Visitors often describe the fair as one of the most human experiences during New York Art Week. And honestly, that matters. Because during large art fair weeks, the art world can sometimes become extremely transactional. People rush from booth to booth. Conversations become brief. Everything moves fast. Fridge slows things down differently. It encourages interaction, experimentation, risk-taking, community, and because of that, many artists and visitors feel genuinely comfortable inside the space. Another exciting element this year is the fair's continued support for artist-run spaces and DIY initiatives. Several participating exhibitors operate outside conventional gallery systems entirely, presenting collaborative projects, temporary collectives, publishing initiatives, and community-based practices. FridgeArtFair.com. That inclusion feels important because some of the most innovative contemporary art today is happening outside traditional commercial structures. Fridge recognizes that, and by giving space to those practices, the fair expands the conversation around what an art fair can actually be. Not just a marketplace, but a cultural platform, a meeting point, a social environment, an experimental laboratory. Another thing that makes Fridge Art Fair stand out is its embrace of humor and playfulness. Many projects throughout the fair intentionally challenge the seriousness and exclusivity often associated with the contemporary art market. There's irony, satire, absurdity, improvisation. And honestly, that humor feels refreshing. Art doesn't always need to feel distant or intimidating. Sometimes it can also feel joyful, chaotic, emotional, weird, or deeply personal. Fridge leaves room for all of that. Fridge Art Fair 2026 runs from May 13th through May 17th across multiple locations and pop-up activations throughout New York City during one of the busiest weeks of the international art calendar, FridgeArtFair.com. And for anyone interested in experimental art, artist-driven culture, performance, activism, community, and one of the most unconventional experiences of New York Art Week, Fridge Art Fair continues to offer something entirely its own.